Hey everybody, welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky, and I am so excited for this episode tonight. Joining me for this episode is special guest host Carla. Hi Carla.
Hi everyone.
Carla is my go-to girl when all my co-hosts, like regular co-hosts are a little busy. I was like, hey, can you come hang out with me? We're going to try to get a restraining order from a couple authors tonight.
I said, I'm down.
And we brought...
Carla needs a restraining order from me, actually.
Stop it.
I love that. And our special guests joining us for this episode are authors Angelina M. Lopez. Thank you for hanging out tonight.
Thanks for inviting me.
And then Natalie Caña is here also. Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
So funny story. Seriously, I messaged Carla. I'm like, hey, want to come on an episode? She's like, yeah, I do. And I was like, okay, who do you want to talk to? You want to talk to a couple authors? I'm thinking maybe Natalie Caña would like to. She's like, yes, but she's my best friend first. I'm like, whoa, back up.
Oh, damn. Did I say that?
Yes.
Dear.
You laid claim. I'm like, whoa.
Hold on a second, though. Just need to know this first.
Well, I'm so glad you guys all said yes. Because, and it's actually, and I've told this story several times, Carla is one of the first people when Book Talk kind of blew up that influenced me to be a better reader. I think that you threw the challenge down, Carla, once that you said for every book you buy, you need to buy a book by another voice, either a disability rep, BIPOC, Latinx, something. Like, you need to make it even, and you have to be conscious about it and think about it. Because I always just assumed, right, I read diversely. If you put it in front of me, I'm reading it. But if you start looking where I get my recs from, they're very one-sided. And so Carla was one of the first people that really pushed and influenced me to be a better reader. I tell her this all the time. She's always like, oh, that's so sweet. I'm like, no, really. Thanks for making me a better human. And I want to make sure that I'm very clear through this whole episode, because we did this with our LGBTQIA episode. You need to read these books all year round.
Yes.
Not just
on the Heritage Month.
On the Heritage Month.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. These stories are year-round stories, not just once-a-year stories. So in this episode, we're diving into how to build the ultimate TBR for Latinx Hispanic Heritage Month, but we're not stopping there. We're celebrating diverse voices that should not be limited to just this one month. We'll share some of our favorite Latinx and Hispanic authors, plus tips on how to read more diversely all year long. Let's honor and embrace the richness of different cultures through these stories that we read. And so that's, and I've talked to you all. I think both of you guys have been on Readathon, and I know Natalie came to book club. So, we've chatted several times, but one of the things is I really want to make a better effort to make sure that my listeners are finding these books. And again, you can't just read them this month. You got to read them all the time.
I think Carla's such a great representation of diverse reading, because the way she posts about it is she's funny enough and angry enough to get people engaged, funny enough to bring people in, and then her to be consistently pointing out the BS surrounding how we look at our content, at what we're reading and what we're engaging in. And it's not just in publishing, it's in media, and it's in what we're watching and it's in everything that we've surrounded ourselves as the norm. And the norm is generally a white POV. It's a white POV. And that's and it's historic, it's not, and then it's only white, but generally it's in white male European POV. Our entire structure of the stories we engage in is this white male POV. Well, it's so many of us as people who love stories are not white European men. Right. What is the story that we have to say? What is our inherent, and again, not authors and not just, but the individual walking down the street who's engaging in all this content, all this stuff, like what's their core story? It's not always going to align with the Iliad. You know, it's not always going to align with all of this single channel we've been blasted with for centuries. So now's this opportunity to open up to all of those stories that are out there from all of these mass perspectives, and what a loss it is to not embrace that, you know, because again, we have been, you know, posed with one POV for literally centuries. So let's like all the other stories that we in our own selves have to say, because most of us are not white European men.
Yeah. Well, at least not these 4 people.
You know, but even within our own community, right? Like we need to push those boundaries. We need to challenge each other. Like Carla just recently was talking on Instagram about like, why do so many of us feel like almost a fear to write Latina men, right, into our stories? What is holding us back? What is making us feel like our stories aren't going to be focused on if we don't have a white person in the lead role? What are we internally like thinking about that we feel like, oh, I don't want to perpetuate a stereotype, or I don't want to do. So it's like, yeah, we've been told all these things, like this very specific type of story needs to be told. But then we also need to be like, okay, wait, I have a duty to push this envelope and put forth another type of story as well.
Yeah.
That's the author way of putting it, for sure.
Well, and so I'm going to ask a question because I'm curious. Does it feel safer to write the female character to be Latinx? Because I'm just going to use that instead of Hispanic, because that kind of covers the rainbow, I think, the gamut of it. Is it feel safer, like you're going to be more marketable not to write a Latinx man or male POV?
Not necessarily. I think if anything, it's not like the marketable thing. It's as a Latina, I know what it's like to be a Latina. And you know, I don't know what it's like to be Latino, a male, and I can look from the outside in. So I think maybe a little bit of it is that wanting to make sure you get it right. You know, because there's so much more pressure on us as women of color to make sure that we're getting it right. But I don't think it has more to do with marketability or any, especially not now that maybe if I was like still trying to sell something, I would maybe be a little bit more worried about that. But now that I'm published and have like a readership and stuff, that's not something that I'm thinking about.
I think there's a lot of times, again, you're taking in the norm, and the norm so often is the white male hero, that even, I mean, it really took me looking through my books going, oh my God, I'd never written a Latino hero, my principal Latino hero. And I didn't until my 5th book. And it was a very, you know, and my first series was a Spanish royalty series. So it, you know, I can make lots of excuses.
There's saffron sprinkled.
Saffron sprinkled.
Spanish.
The saffron.
That's new.
But you know, but it was a real specific, you know, thinking, you know, what do I want? And I was writing a Mexican American man. What does that look like? And making sure this representation is there. And I have a short story collection in there. There is a lot. Those were written. Some of those stories were written after the 5th book, and there was very specific, having heroes of color. But it's one of the. You have to make conscious choices as an author as well as a reader, because we get so used to the norm. You don't, you know, you have to break out of what you've been so accustomed to. At least I did. You know, I had to make a very conscious choice about, of course I want to write. If I'm talking about these worthy men, this was kind of was my tagline for a long time. Like, I'm going to show a Mexican man, you know, as one of these worthy heroes.
Boy, was he worthy.
I loved him.
Oh my gosh. I still blush thinking about that man.
Carla, like, how many?
Yes,
Carla, how many book boyfriends do you have?
All of them.
Like,
Oh my God, all of them.
That's it. Oh yeah, and that was the great. Well, Natalie's already had this, but this was my first Latino hero on a cover, and she did such a good job. Alex Pavel's the designer on this, so it's full movie free. But this is Nicky Mendoza. He's the hero we're talking about.
Yeah.
But to have this super hot Mexican American male hero, all of those things that we have, you know, and Natalie does that. Is so good at her Latino heroes, and but that was my first.
Puppies,
so I was like,
collection of puppies. They're beyond book boyfriend. They're book puppies.
oh,
Listen,
I didn't know this was next level.
Even Liam with his Irish American self had he got that sazon.
Oh my God, he knows so much about the culture, so much. Especially book 3 now. Like, I was thinking,
okay, do not spoil book 3. I just started. I read Angelina's collection of short stories.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like,
pre-ordered it.
Same.
Isn't that cover like amazing?
I'm obsessed with it.
I've never seen anything like it, and
Can you make postcards so that I can frame it? Because
I do. I have postcards on my website. I actually did it because I had so many people reacting to the cover. And what's so like this cover was created by a white man. I love him. I've known this designer since he was my husband's best friend in kindergarten.
Oh my God!
I've known John Springelmeyer since I was 19, and so this was like the first opportunity for us to work together. He's this astonishing graphic artist, and so but it was one of those things I was like, I got it. This was John knows me and knows my work, and it was a short, and this was his concept.
It's so amazing.
And again, this is a man who like knows me to my soul. So it was
that
like
needs
everything.
To be framed. I want that framed. Like
you can. I sell post. I did because so many. I do posters and stuff on the website.
Okay, well, people are going to be on your website, Angelina. I will have Angelina's socials and her website linked on our On the Shelf show notes when we're done.
It's just my name too. It's easy.
Because people
Natalie,
are like,
do you have your cover?
Oh. No, I don't have a hard copy of my book yet.
I just started this one today because I had to finish Angelina's. Both of you actually.
I mean, I kind of like.
Look at that!
So beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
But both of your covers, to be honest, I picked up. Well, I had read the Lush series, like from Angelina. I had read that. Because they're mass market paperbacks, and I know this is not going to be very popular. I love mass market.
I love mass market. They're so travel friendly. Are you kidding me?
So many more on the shelf.
I collect mass markets. There was a TikTok going around about like
size.
at a like someone was having an estate sale, and there were like 7 30-gallon tubs this woman had full of mass markets, and I'm like, we have lost a hero.
Give them to me.
Where can I get these? Is this close by? Because I'll make Mike take me.
Where is this located?
I love mass markets. Obsessed with them. So I had read the Lush series because, again, it was mass market size. I have them. I love them. But Natalie, I didn't know who you were, but I had seen someone, probably Carla, post the cover of A Proposal They Can't Refuse. And I was like,
I love that cover.
Who is this person? I need this book. How do I manipulate this system to get an arc? But both of your cover, like both of you.
I want to say that I feel like I'm so proud of Latina authors, how they're just like putting out vibrant covers that take up, that are loud, that take up space, that they not subtle. Like I love this like in your face, gorgeous art that has been like coming out lately. Latina authors. Oh my God.
Well, and my cover artist is actually, she's Latina, she's Brazilian. And her work, I mean, she has like, her style is varied. Like she can do almost anything. But one of like the first things that they sent me was a picture of her with that she had done of a woman with curly hair. And I was like, that's it right there. That's the person. Like, cause it's to do textured hair and to do it well, it's a skill set. So yeah, and luckily I've been able to have her for every single book, and it's yeah. I love every single cover, but yeah, book one holds a special place because it was my debut.
Well,
And I think I told the story the last time that I saw it in my classroom. I was like crying and like scared, like 17 second graders.
but I love that you're right, Carla. The covers are vibrant and beautiful, and they draw you in. And I look at like Alexis Daria, her covers, and they
stunning.
just. I actually saw again on TikTok. I should probably get a life and stop watching TikTok. A group of librarians took book covers and like dressed as them, and the outfits that were so colorful and vibrant were all of these Latinx author covers, and I'm like, okay, point, got it.
Love that.
Oh yeah, that's like Priscilla Oliveras has a dress that a reader made from her for her based
the
off
yellow
of her
dress.
anchored hearts. Oh my god, like literally, nobody could pull it off except for Priscilla. But it's just so absolutely gorgeous, and it matches her book perfectly. And it's just like bright and happy and sunny, just like Priscilla, and it's just like 100% on.
I do think you're right, though. There's a lot of things that Priscilla can do that we're all like, oh, yeah, I couldn't do that. But Priscilla, go. Yeah.
I could never. Go you.
She also loves a mass market, just so we're clear. And so does her dad.
Yeah.
Her dad.
Her dad was very upset when he couldn't find mass markets of her books. She shared that on an episode she and I did. And I was like, I get it. I am campaigning for mass markets back.
He is like her biggest champion. I love when she like shares him with us.
He is the cutest. Like, you just like being her friend, and like whenever we're at an event or something, her parents check in a lot, and you know, she talks to them, and he's just like he's so cute, and he's like, "Are you hanging out with your friends? Like, okay, have fun, Mia." You know, like he's just adorable. He's adorable.
I love that. So one of the things that's come up recently, and it's not really recent, but I'm curious on all of your thoughts, because I think Carla posted it to Threads, which we all are over there on Threads. It's the Wild Wild West over there.
It's the Wild Wild West, all right.
You never know what you're gonna get, and sometimes there's gunslingers, and sometimes you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
There's like those, what are they called? The things that just roll down the street because it's like empty.
The tumbleweeds of like
tumbleweeds. Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes there's a shootout. Sometimes there's tumbleweeds.
It's wild. But I think Carla put something about requesting authors to put their heritage, their in like their bios,
flags in the bio,
because we've seen in the past things like Abby Jimenez. She's very clear she is not Latinx, but her
she's addressed it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, she's very clear. Like, I don't belong on those tables. You know, pull me off. And then I know someone was shocked to learn Lauren Asher is Cuban American, but she doesn't. It's not in her bios. And I think there was something with Julie Soto also.
Yeah.
So, but I know there are some authors that aren't comfortable doing that. And there are some that are very comfortable to doing that. I mean, as someone who's trying to be better, it would make my life a little easier. But do you two put it? I did the website and I really did read your bios, but do you have it in your bios?
I
do,
don't know
yeah.
either. I don't have it in mind. It's just become kind of a topic of conversation. But at the end of it, I'm third generation Mexican American. And so it's one of those things that I'm like, I am very much in that space. Like, what I claim is my story. I claim being a third generation Mexican American. I don't claim knowing Mexico. I don't claim, not having had an experience as a brown woman in the Midwest. What I know is what I know. And that's what I write about, is the experience that I have as being, in a country that my family's been in since the early 1900s. And so, but that's the only, that's it. And so it's an interesting thing. It almost feels like what flag would I put? You know, do I put Mexican and do I claim Mexico when, you know, I'm again, I'm closer to, I'm more American than my Swedish husband, Peter Lundquist. His grandfather moved here. My great grandparents moved here, but nobody ever asked my husband to identify with Sweden. Like,
You are more American than my husband.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
So it's a really interesting struggle. But no, I haven't even. I mean, it's never even come up. Like, you know, I think the conversation is just starting to go through, and it's something I need to think about.
I will say though, like as a reader, like you are always talking about your heritage too, you know?
I do.
So as it's easy to identify you as a Latina author, like off the bat, you know, anybody coming to you new will know. And it's just the way you carry yourself.
And that's the thing is I've always been like identified with being a Latina. I've always identified with being Mexican American.
Sure.
It's what I knew growing up, is my heritage. But it's this very specific, you know, if people want to speak to me in Spanish, I'm like, but I can't do that with you know? So I'm in one of those stories where people are like, you know, do I get to count myself? And, you know, I'm 50 years old, so at a certain point I'm like, I just got to be me. This is my story. This is what I am. This is what I know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to mute myself.
That's okay.
Because my dogs decided that it's time to wrestle right under my desk. So if you see shaking and hear barking, that's them.
The puppy does it almost every episode. He sometimes he comes and just puts his head on the desk, or he does stuff. He's so naughty.
Oh yeah, the little one doesn't leave the big one alone, and so now the big one's mad. And you know, like a typical older brother, he's gonna beat him up a little bit just so he can leave him alone. But yeah, I've always had my flags in my bio, just because. I mean, I was born here. I was born in the States. I was, you know, raised here in Milwaukee where I live. But being Puerto Rican and you hear them, being Puerto Rican and being Dominican is so much of who I am in every second of every day that it just never even like occurred to me to not put it in my bio, you know?
Yeah.
Especially because it just from the beginning, it was such a large part of the stories that I was going to tell. But I totally understand when, you know, there's people who, for whatever reason, for personal things, for, you know, experiences that they have, just don't feel comfortable and they don't want to be like a token, you know?
Yeah.
And so they leave that out. And that's totally up to them, whatever they want to do. But again, though, it comes into if you're not telling people, then you can't be mad at people for not knowing, you know, and you can't be in your feelings about not being included in Latin Heritage Month if nobody knows that you're Latin.
Yeah.
Correct. I feel like that's the two spectrums to really think about as well. And also, a lot of people that can identify, they're sometimes in not safe spaces where they can truly. And again, there's the people that just come from such mixed heritage that they're afraid to as well. Like being sensitive to all of that, for someone to speak out on and identifying on something so personal, they have to first of all feel safe, you know? So whenever I do request, I always like want to be sure that I sound like a safe space, and I just want to find out if you care to be categorized. Otherwise, if you do not care to be categorized, you shall not be categorized. And on to the next.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I will say it is helpful for me because, one, if you've been around a minute, I'm terrible with names. Like, I just look at a name. I can't say it very well. I'm just not great with words sometimes. And names are tricky for me. But one of the first things I look at after the cover is the name because of my bias. I have to be more thoughtful. So it is kind of helpful. But at the end of the day, I mean, if the story speaks to me, I'm picking it up.
Sure.
And especially if your cover has pink in it or purple.
Oh my God! Please give me a pink book. Oh my God!
No, I'm not kidding. Pink, orange, and yellow. These are colors that we don't get enough in books. I don't need more black books or blue books.
Put some vibrancy on there.
Yeah. I need
more green books. I need more like
Green.
Right, like my pillows back here, like my
For decoration
green.
purposes only, please publish your book in green cover.
You listen. I tried to push for green. I really did. I got a tiny little bit on book one, and I was like, you know what though? I got my favorite color yellow, so I'm happy.
Well, and when you go to make like the rainbow shelf or something like that, like I tried to do it, I hardly had any yellow or orange.
I'm looking at mine right now, and I have a lot of yellow and orange.
Okay, well, I'm going to need those titles, please.
Is that right? Yeah.
I'm going to need those titles.
I could use more purple, if I'm being honest. I just took a sneak peek. My purple part
I love
is
how
really...
we're all looking at our bookshelves
Like,
right now. We're like,
well, someone asked me,
do I
like,
need?
why do you use books as your background? I said, you don't understand. Like, there's books up over here. Wall space is premium in this house. We have a tiny house.
Yeah.
Books are anywhere we can put them. But actually, when we're doing episodes and stuff, I constantly will look over and be like, oh, that would fit that. And then I'll, I say the book. So
Ooh.
it's...
I filled like one whole shelf in the rainbow, and I'm like, I can't do this again. So those are all staying there, and like all the new books are just in like piles on my desk. Like I can't. I'm like, I can't figure this out again. That
Rainbow shelves are a commitment.
Mm-hmm. Those books shall never leave that shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had to paint last weekend, and the books were like piled everywhere. And my eldest, my son, he's like, you have a problem. And the girl child speaks up. She goes, and she doesn't even read these. They're just decorations. Because I love to read the ebooks, but I need the covers. I need the books.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm same.
They throw a lot of shade in this house. They're not very kind sometimes. That's what happens when you have young adult children, right, Angelina? They're a little bit like...
Yeah.
They call you on your bullshit.
That's why I just have dogs. They can't say anything.
Yeah. So smart. So smart. Okay, so let's talk about some of our favorite authors. Other than, you two, because, I've read everything you both have written. Angelina, and I know that this is a tricky question, and you can tell me, we can talk about it later. The other sister.
Yes.
Is she kind of floating in nowhere land right now?
She is floating in hopeful land right now.
Okay.
Not even, well, I mean, that makes it sound, her book will come out one day.
Okay.
There is not a publishing date.
Okay.
On the books right now.
Okay.
Yes.
I knew that there was, things.
I've been getting that question a lot. I was going to get through the release and give it to me and then do a little blog about what has happened. It's not bad news. It is good news for me and me kind of taking my future in my hands, being unhappy and really grabbing the steering wheel. So it's not bad news, and that book will come out one day. Okay. But there is not an immediate release.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's like the first cogent answer I've been able to give about it. Usually I just go hide. People ask and I just go run. And I hide.
Well, I mean, if you had said next question, Becky, I'd have been like, okay, I understand.
No, it's fine. No, it needs to be. It's coming up. It's nice when it comes up because people care. So I'm not. I just have not had a good cogent answer. So it's just like get to the release and then do a little blog where it just says it will one day be out. And I desperately want to tell her story. Yeah. But it will not come out through Harlequin in the next year. Yeah. So.
We will look forward to the blog then.
Yeah, we'll just wait. I mean,
it'll be a little tea to spill.
I can be patient. I just need to know, because if
there's a light at the end of the tunnel,
there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay. If not, it would have been like a lot of instant messages from me going, Angelina, I'm over here waiting.
Those sisters in that town and all of them, they deserve their. The big climax of the building too. Well, so it's all planned out.
They do. They really do.
Well, and both of you, it's so interesting because Natalie writes in the Chicago suburb, so the neighborhood, but it definitely has small town vibes because all those people know what everybody's business is.
Yeah.
Like, it was shocking to me to read the second book, and we got a new grandparent, and the amount of busybodiness of those old people, I was like, what is...
Wait till book 3, girl.
I told you,
Just wait.
don't spoil. But then Angelina writes this small town, and again, you have so many busybodies.
Oh my God.
That's, you know, and they're all doing it for your own good. It's all for
Yes,
your
every
own
time.
good.
It's so
They're
sneaky.
way up in your business.
Oh my God.
Always for your own good. It's never because they just need to know and they want to know. No, it's for your own good.
They love you. They want God's blessing on you. They know they know better than you. But they love you.
Experience, yes.
So my mom,
they need to know that like all their stuff happened for a reason, and it's so that it can help you.
Well, but if you put them in a space where they have to sit still for too long, then that's when it gets terrible, because my mother recently fell and fractured her kneecap. That was part of my chaos. And I started calling her Medicare Barbie, because she comes with accessories now. Like, she's got a brace and a walker. Anyway. But she doesn't really want to go out right now. But man, she has gossip every day for me. She's like, I talked to your sister. You won't believe what's happening. I talked to my friend so-and-so. You won't believe what's happening. And I'm like,
wow,
girl, you need to get out.
Yeah. Oh, I tell my mom all the time. Like, sometimes I have to be like, Mom, stop telling people my business. She's just such an extrovert, and she just makes friends everywhere that she goes. And I'm like, not that person unless I have to be, right? And so like, she's like, yeah, this is my daughter who blah, blah, blah. And we're like in Sam's Club. And I'm like, stop telling these people stuff about me. I don't know them. I don't trust them. I don't want them to know my life. And she's like, oh no, it's no big deal. I was just like, oh lady. And now that she's retired, it's like times 100.
I would go home to my small town in Kansas, and I would be with my family. And if we would run into another family, they could repeat everything that I was doing. And I was like, oh, this is such an invasion of my pride, blah, blah, blah. But then I had children, and then I would go back to my town, and we'd run into people, and they wouldn't know anything about what I was doing. It was only about what my kids were doing. And then I was like, what? Haven't you heard this one?
Excuse me? I'm a published author.
Yeah.
So, but now my kids are grown up, and so now they're getting ignored. But no, it's like if you go and like everyone knows, you don't have to tell anybody nobody asks like, how are you doing? They already know. They've already all discussed it. They have their thoughts about it.
But it's really just interesting to me how both your communities, technically your settings are very different, big city, small town, but the community vibes are so similar. And I think that's one of the things that I love about diving into the Latinx romances is the sense of communities, that and the food. I'm a foodie. I obsess with food. So when you guys give me the descriptions of the food, I'm like looking it up. Like, can I convince Mike Burrier to make this for me? Who of my friends would be able to cook this?
But I think some of that similarity comes from like us both being from the Midwest, and which was, predominantly white. And when our families did come here, they had to create that community. And so the community really does play a huge role because it was handmade by our family. And I think you see that, and you could probably see that in every big city too. Even New York, you have your boroughs where you have certain ethnicities that just built their community, and they revolved around that because they wanted to be surrounded by people who understood them and who were like them, who were like their loved ones.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Like in Kansas City, you had these multi-generational Mexican communities, and now one of them, West, I forgot the second part of it, but it is become people loved going there because they would have the Mexican restaurants, and you would walk in and everyone would be like, hey, compadre, and there would be this big white people going to these neighborhoods would get that sense of that family and that closeness and that intimacy and that, you know, that excitement of being part of these communities, to the point where they started coming in and buying all these old houses. And now those homes are like $800,000. They're pricing out the Mexicans who've been there since the early 1900s. There's a Lady of Guadalupe church, but it's these people coming wanting to be. It is a very specific intimacy and wanting to be part of it. And it's funny when you write about it, it's almost like it's just what you know to be true about how people are when they gather together, how loved ones are when they gather together. It's not even like trying to write this is how people are when they gather together.
It's just part of how you grew up in your experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, because I don't necessarily think of gentrification of neighborhoods like that there's people seeking community, but in a way it kind of is, because I do know that personally, like there are certain restaurants, like there's a Mexican restaurant I prefer to go to. They know who we are. I mean, because I do eat there a lot because I like their food, but like, you know, everybody knows who we are. They say hello to us. They ask us if we'll be back next week. Like, and that's it. I love going there because there is that sense of friendship and community. So I can see that, but I never really thought about gentrification like that it's seeking that community and that vibe.
Yeah.
Because I get that.
Yeah, it is to a point, but then there's also like these buildings and these homes were left to a certain demographic of people when the white people wanted to live amongst their own in the suburbs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
And now they're starting to really be able to value the craftsmanship and the locale and all those things. So it's also that wanting to come back and restore these beautiful homes. Like, I mean, they're huge homes, very well crafted, like details out the wazoo, you know, and yeah, they will make anybody a beautiful home. And so it's like, yeah, if I can pay less for it, fix it up, it's huge, bigger than anything that I could get in the suburbs, and it's right in the city. Why wouldn't I?
Absolutely.
But there's also the other part of how is that affecting everybody around you?
Yeah, the people who never left.
Well, and both of you do not shy away from that, and that's something too that I really like in these in your books particularly, is that you don't shy away from hitting some of these harder topics.
Both of their books, yeah.
And you do it in a way that, one, it makes the reader think, but also it says, okay, how do I be a better human? I don't want to be the trash human that's, you know, trying to destroy a town or something. I don't want to be that person.
There was a thing going around on Threads. There was a thread going around about, like, how do you feel about having politics? You know, talking about politics as an author. What do you think? And there was a big long thing about, you know, wanting to separate their authorship from the politics, that romance authorship is supposed to be this fun safe place in authorship. And I crafted a whole thing and I haven't put it up yet, but there's always plenty of time. And so many people who were commenting had the option to separate their personhood from their authorhood. My name, Angelina M. Lopez, and my face walking into certain rooms and showing certain places, people consider political just existing. Natalie, Caña, tilde in a name, that is considered by many people to be political, just with a tilde in it. You know, that there is a whole. Am I like glitching?
You're fine.
Okay,
you're catching up.
And so having the privilege to be able to separate your personhood from your authorhood, great. I'm thrilled for you. But a lot of us don't have that option. And people can still choose. We definitely have, even within our friends, people who write books that are, you know, not more focused, but maybe don't wade into issues the way that Natalie and I do. But but again, I think people should recognize if you can parse those parts of yourself, it's a tremendous privilege, because it's not an option because sometimes because of a person's face or just their name, and definitely in today's political climate, worrying about their own safety, the safety of their family, the people they love. It's just not possible to parse that. So if I'm not going to parse that on social media, I'm certainly not going to parse that in my books because, again, it's not an option for me.
Yeah.
Right. But and even those people who can do that, the people who know that they can't, it's very clear that those other people have that opportunity, right? So even in that sense, it's still political because the absence of politics or the policies or all that stuff immediately to people of color, immediately to people of marginalized communities, we're like, oh, they one of those people. Okay.
Yeah.
This is this POV. Let me get ready for this POV.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I look at it as a white mother of a queer child. I don't have that privilege.
No.
I have to be loud. I have to be clear as to where I stand. And I, like a few of you, live in the middle of a red state. And I have to speak louder and be heard louder. And so I need to be very clear. This is a safe space for these people,
Yep. Yeah.
And
I think, the shooting in Georgia, it's one of those things that's like, for at least, that's one of the unifiers. It's like, we just want our children to go to school and not be shot and be safe. Like, that's a unifying, like, okay, now how do you feel about expressing your politics on social media?
Yeah.
Because
right.
Like,
well, so there's
there's gun rights people and whatever, but it's like there's unifying events where it's like, no, shit's crazy, and we need to talk about it. We need to stand up for what we want.
There's a really great podcast about the Michigan school shooter and his parents and how they were charged and why they were charged. And it brings a whole new thought to what I hope happens in Georgia. Anyway, just put that out there.
What's the name of it?
It's by Wondery.
Okay.
I'll find it here. Okay, well, let's talk about some authors other people should be reading. Angelina, do you have any one-click Latinx authors that are...
I mean, Adriana Herrera has just consistently pushed the mold. I mean, she has just consistently pushed boundaries about what we're writing and what we're saying, and just always, I am definitely a Midwestern girl, a little bit more like, oh, and I know what I am. I'm 50 years old. It's fine, or it's not fine, but I know what I am. But Adriana has consistently been up front, pushing boundaries and bringing new things into Latinx romance, and not being afraid of any of trying anything, and being very like, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to make money. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to be upfront. I'm going to have the opinion. And I just really, I admire her tremendously as an author, but I admire her tremendously as a person too, because she is really, really fearless in a way that I needed to see examples of before I could even pretend to be a nibble of that. Like, I really just admire her so much. But a phenomenal writer. Like, first, just pick up a book and read the book. Like, you don't need to do all of this other stuff I'm talking about.
Totally
pick
agree.
up one of her books, buy any of them, buy a super hot one, buy a super kinky one, buy a sweet one, buy a historical one, and any of, like, all diverse and all interesting, and just a phenomenal author.
She's a force, though.
Yeah.
She's one of those that, like...
She knows the publishing world. Like, she made it a point to know the publishing world, to know her craft, to, like, I mean, but that's like that's that immigrant, like, grit, right? Like, when she was gonna go in, she is gonna go all in. And she 100% is. Like, I feel like we all, like, when we have a question or when we need some advice, we're like, Adriana.
100%.
She knows her shit. Like, she knows it.
Natalie, do you have another one-click author that you're like, I wish, or even an author you think that you wish more people would read?
I wish more people would read Leonor Solis.
Ugh,
Yeah.
she
I
gets
wish more
me
people would read her.
every time because she knows that I'm like the anti-slow burn person. And she'll be like, Becky, it's a slow burn. And I'm like,
She's so good at the slow burn.
she is
But
so
she's
much tension.
also so good at the representation. And also just like, I feel like, especially when you get to the Latinx and you're looking for that, you see a lot of Mexican or Mexican American, you see a lot of Puerto Rican, you even see like somewhat some Brazilian, but you really don't see a lot of these other Latin American countries. And so it was super, and like even just getting to know her and talking to her and seeing like her experience being from Chile and being from South America versus like mine from, you know, my family's being from the Caribbean and then having grown up in a predominantly Mexican neighborhood. So knowing that as well, it's incredibly different. And so I definitely think people are sleeping on her and they need to read more of her stuff because she's another person who just, she knows her craft really well.
Her body positivity, the fat rep, the body rep that she gives in her books is some of the most superior. I'm trying to think, it might have been her Christmas book last year. I was like, this was phenomenal because you could tell she thought about what positions you could put someone in that's that body size. Because sometimes you read a book with a plus size character and they're putting them in their positions and I'm like, no girl with a big ass butt and huge thighs is doing that position. Not one of us. And
yeah,
so,
she definitely knows her stuff. And she draws all of her own covers.
She does. Yeah.
Like she taught herself to draw so that she could do her own covers. And
she's so talented. It's insane. Insane.
She's also like a great human too. Just so we're all clear. Just a great human. Okay, Carla, I know you got a list.
A list? Oh, geez.
Give us a list.
Give it. Tell us.
Wait, let me just say, I started reading Marie Maravilla because of Carla. And he texted Carla, like I DM'd her at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, Carla, I just need you to tell me really quick, are all of the chapter headings like this? Because I don't know if I can do it. And she was like, I didn't even realize that they were so like wild and out there. And I was like, you know what? I'll just live vicariously through you. I did not live vicariously through her. I literally read the other two books. And like,
did you? Oh my God.
Okay, wait. What author was that?
Marie Maravilla.
What are her books?
She writes
they're
mafia romance, right? Mafia motorcycle club. Like she's an indie author. But
like where the heroines are morally gray, even more morally gray than the heroes, which I am 100% for. Like I'm not like a mafia romance person. I'm not like a cartel, like Narcos and whatever TV show person.
Yeah.
But I was in. I was like, yeah, you better stab him in the chest.
Yes, like that's where
do
she
you
comes
start
from.
with her?
Like, she was tired of seeing the girls be kidnapped and have no say and just tossed around, and then all of a sudden dressed in a red dress, and now they're like winded. I know her girls fight back the whole way through, and somehow have been running everything the whole time, and you didn't even know.
Carla, where do I start? What's book one?
Skeletons of Society.
Yeah, I was like, girl, you better roll under that truck and shoot out those bad guys with one hand behind your back and whatever. Like, go ahead, girl, you do it. You James Bond the mess out of this.
Longer than 30 seconds.
I love that. Somebody asked who draws their own cover. Leonor Solis. She draws her own covers, and she's an indie author, and I believe her books are in Kindle Unlimited. And one of the things that I love about her books, they are not 500 pages long.
That part.
Like, I don't know. Anyway, that's another.
Especially for a slow burn.
Right?
That's what we want.
Don't make me wait 500 pages.
I want to be like 500 pages, but I knew that if I was writing indie, it would be 500 pages.
Carla wouldn't let
My
you. She'd be
editor's
like,
forever
Natalie,
like-
cut this.
My editor is forever like, I don't think we need all of this detail. And I'm like, but I looked it up. I researched it.
Yeah.
People need to know.
Does it hurt your feelings when the editor says to you, this is really great, but I didn't need to know this?
No, because I know that I go too far. I know I'm extra as fuck.
Yeah.
It's the teacher in me. I'm like, I learned it. Now you're going to learn it. You're welcome.
I just edited a pregnancy romance, and my youngest child is 19. So I've not been pregnant in a very long time. And science changes and medicine has evolved a little bit and things are different now. And like doing the research for a pregnancy romance to make sure she hit all the right stages, I'm like,
Yeah. These women have it so easy. You can like pump now while you're on a dog or whatever.
Right?
You know, I used to be confined to like an electrical outlet. All these
No,
screens
thank you to all of that.
do you know how many mass market paperbacks might have fallen on a child's head?
That's where you put it on the baby's head.
That's the book holder.
That's very
You're
true.
holding the baby and the baby's holding the book.
No, any difference?
Nice lap desk. Sorry, child.
When mommy's happy, child's happy.
Right?
Fine.
Isn't that part of the science? The endorphins come through.
It's exactly.
Okay, let's go around here. So there was a thread again. I need to get off social media. I might get more done in my house. There's a thread that's, it was like a line of throw it out here. Who are some Latinx authors to read? And I think Angelina commented on it. Like, I can't believe no one's commenting on this.
Yeah, it was a big Latina.
It was a blogger.
It was like Hip Latina or something.
Yeah, like
Wasn't it like
Latina
Hip
something.
Latina?
It was huge. It was 15 hours later, and 2 people had commented. 4 people had commented. 2 said thank you. 2, and I was so.
I didn't see it.
Like looking at the time, like when did they post? Like
I didn't
mortified.
see it
I
until
saw it.
Angelina did it. So I reshared it and then listed, but I missed actually one of my clients. Lindo Forbes, she's a Canadian author that is an Afro-Latin. And
And what's her name again?
Lindo Forbes, she's only got 2 books out. She's kind of been
Lindo
mentored by Zoe York.
Okay, cool.
I love Zoe York.
Right?
Yeah.
And she has 2 books out, and they're great, and tons of representation, and that, Toronto is such a multicultural city, and she brings that in. And actually her newest book came out a week ago Friday, and the hero is a husky guy. He's a big guy with so much charisma, like he just thinks he's the coolest dude on the block. And it's an age gap where she's older and she was a young mom. And it's really good. And I really like her. And so if you haven't read her, she's out there. Anyway, Angelina, what do you got? Do you have any other authors? Like, give us.
Who? Me?
Yeah, keep giving us all the authors.
Other authors. This is not a romance author, but V. Castro. She is a horror writer. And I opened one of her books and I just proceeded. And more like, she definitely writes these very feminist Latina books and definitely Mexican immigrant and like border, a lot of kind of border politics. But her books are just like the angry, I'm an angry, pissed off woman, and I'm going to kill people because of it. And everything about it is very satisfying. Like this, it sounds like in the way of like mafia, but the mafia is read by women. Like her books are just incredibly like, whenever you just want to go punch somebody, like her books are really good to like.
I might need that.
Embrace that.
That's like Mary Maravilla.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that kind of like, yeah, let's go kill something.
So we have gone from like really angry to like Leonore, who writes like these sweet. I mean, they're sassy women, but they're like
readers need all types. We need all types.
We do.
Listen,
Yeah.
we have enough space for angry women and cinnamon men, okay?
Right?
We need
Her-
That's
men
my
to
whole
be
thing.
less
We can take
angry.
a million versions of this one thing, or give me a million different things and a
Right.
million different versions of it. Please fill up all
Mhm.
these spaces.
Okay, Natalie, another author, another
Okay.
book. What are people sleeping
All
on?
right, so I have two.
Give them to
Okay,
us.
so I read Gabriela Gamez's The Next Best Fling.
So messy. We were just talking about this.
We were talking
and
about that earlier.
I had to purchase the internet on the flight that I was on just so I could DM her and be like, listen, you have no right to be making me feel like this while I'm on this plane. So yes, very much, but I loved it. And I just met, and I have not read her work yet, but I just met her at Romance Con this weekend, Amber Cordova.
Oh, she's
God,
our
So like
yes.
book
Amber
club.
was an A.
Yeah, she's our book club author in November.
She's amazing.
She
So
has 2 books
sweet.
out.
She was such a sweetheart. And like she kind of, we were both like just wanted to say hi to Lucy Eden because she's Lucy Eden.
Right.
And she came up and she was talking and I was like, you're Dominican, aren't you? And she's like, I'm very Dominican. And she was like, how do you? I was like, I'm Dominican. And so that was like one of those nice moments.
Cute.
But yeah, her debut just came out not that long ago, and then her next book I think is coming out like this week.
It is
or
out
something
this
like that.
week.
So yeah.
Yeah. She's hilarious. We had her over our summer for our summer slumber party, and she's like, she needs her husband. The very first time she had to use the dishwasher, she put the liquid dish soap in the dishwasher and then just left it.
I would do the same thing.
And her husband comes home and he's like, what did you do? Anyway, she's so sweet. I got to meet her. She did a book signing at the Barnes & Noble here in Maumee 2 weekends ago, and I got to meet her. She's so cute. She's so sweet.
She's like adorable, just a really sweetheart. Yeah.
Okay, Miss Carla over there. Who else are we sleeping on author-wise?
Y'all need to read A.H. Cunningham, first of all. That is, she's so steamy, super high steam books. And I think that she also is probably one of the coolest authors in the sense that she does both Black romance and she does Latinx romance and she does both. So she's like a perfect bridge of an author that identifies that she's Black presenting, right? Like she knows that, and she'll go to Black romance cons as well and stand there and represent for that because she writes Black romance and it's also Latinx romance. So she checks all these boxes all at once, and she gives us like this great steam. She's so funny about it. She did her own rating system. I don't know if you've seen her TikTok where she's like, well, I'm gonna categorize my steam, like with the chili peppers. A lot of people commenting were like, oh, that's interesting what you consider 3 chili peppers for this book. It was kind of funny, the discourse that she started with that. But A.H. Cunningham for sure. And then J.J. Arias does some great sapphic romance. Like she's innately funny, where like conversations happening in books are just funny, sometimes even deadpan type of humor. But she does some steamy books, and she has a really wide range of books.
I like steamy books. If you haven't read Carla Luna, have you guys read her? First of all, another like
she's my friend. She's my local author group friend.
I love her. She's so sweet.
She's so sweet.
But her travel series that she did, and it's kind of academic because they are archaeology students, and she deals a lot with the feelings of these artifacts and this history in these other countries that are not her characters' countries, and but she also does a really great road trip. The last book that just came out, book 3, they are in Rome, working as tour guides in the summer.
My favorite,
and they're stuck on a bus together.
I tell everybody, Troy Story is like one of the most clever titles that I've ever heard. And I I always say like she was basically Indiana Jones, so she knows her stuff.
She-
Like she's
Yeah.
for real writing from experience. She was out there digging up artifacts and
That's so
part of
cool.
that whole thing. Yeah.
And there's a smartness to her story. Her characters are just, there's like a smartness to that. Like, they're not know-it-alls, but you definitely like feel that academic vibe.
Yeah.
Which just makes me laugh. Because
But it also makes me think Joe Segura. Joe Segura with her Temple or Raiders of the Lost Heart.
oh,
Temple, like all the and give it directly to me, inject it right into my veins, please.
she's coming to Toledo. Toledo, Ohio is putting on their library is putting on a romance con in November.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's going to be there. Kimberly Lemming, Abby Jimenez, and Julie Soto. Those are the 4 headliners.
Oh,
I'm like,
That's awesome.
that's a good lineup.
it is a good lineup. I was excited for it. A couple others before we go, because we're over our hour. So I'm just gonna, and if I miss anybody, yell at me. Just yell over me. Mia Sosa. I think she was one of the first Latinx authors that I picked up. Alexis Daria. We talked about Priscilla Oliveras. I love her series that she did with Montlake that was the mariachi bands. Ophelia Martinez, which to be honest, I know she's not writing right now, but she hopes to be coming back here in 2025. And I think Ophelia is Carla, How I Found You to start with.
Yeah.
She
I
kind of
love her. I love her books. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
She's such a good writer, and she's an even better person. She's such a sweetheart.
She's super
She
sweet.
is.
Jocelyn Soto, Santana Knox, Tori Oliveras. Let me see here. Sierra Simone, Lissa Montoya, and then we talked about Gabriela Gomez. And do we have any other? Do you guys know of any other debuts that are kind of on the cusp coming out in the next?
Debuts, I'm not sure of, but we definitely need to hype up Liana de la Rosa.
Oh,
Her historicals are just like chef's kiss.
her covers too. So many colors and so beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
The third book in Alexis Daria's series is coming out in 2025, the long-awaited third book.
True.
In that with those amazing covers. That's coming out in 2025. That's been waiting 3 years.
January, I think. January or February 2025. Early.
Yeah.
Carla, is that Nut Galley up yet? Do you know, sister?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it is, no. I don't believe it. I don't believe it is because she just finished copy edits, I think. Yeah. So in the next couple of weeks it probably will be up.
We'll give her a moment. We'll wait patiently. I only refresh once a day.
I was thinking of somebody else too, and then it just slipped out of my head.
I don't know.
Zoraida Cordova and
Zoraida.
She's been so prolific. Like Zoraida Cordova, she writes in so many genres. She's super prolific. Like she's an inspiration because she has just got all of these books coming out in all of these different ways.
Fantasy, phenomenal. Magical realism,
sci-fi,
contemporary, sci-fi.
She's just she's a career that I would love to have. Like just being able to write in so many different genres. And
it's so interesting to see the people moving genres too. Because that's really kind of new frontier. You typically got boxed into romance, and moving out, you had to switch your pen name up for.
Yeah. It was interesting because I had with my first agent, I had a conversation about that, about if I were to go to a different genre, would I need a pen name and this and that? And she goes, no, you want, your readership, to follow you from one thing to the other thing. And I was like, but Zoraida has more than one.
She does. That's because really.
So she's Zoe Castile and Zoraida Cordova.
And Rizzo Rose.
Yes.
I love that. Okay, so Angelina, you have a new book releasing September 10th, which is Tuesday. This episode's dropping on Sunday. It is Give It To Me. It is a collection of short stories of powerful women, and they're...
Yeah, it's sexy tales about women getting the good loving they deserve. Because we all deserve it. And every story is about that, and they all have really steamy
and nobody writes it better than Angelina.
Oh my
Powerful
God.
women getting what they deserve.
Oh my gosh. No one.
Somebody posted it on the spine on their in their bookshelf, and I was like, "Oh, the spine!
Oh, that's really pretty.
It's so
yeah,
cute.
the spine's like the best." This was my John and I worked on this idea, but this was my contribution. I was like, "Could you put a heart at the bottom of the exclamation mark?"
I love that.
I love that.
That is perfect. And then Natalie, you and your October releases. Have all 3 books come out in October?
No.
No.
Book one was supposed to have come out in May, and then it came out in June.
Okay.
Book 2 was supposed to have come out in June. It came out in October. Book 3 was supposed to have come out in June. It's also coming out in October.
Yeah.
So Sleeping with the Enemy Sleeping with the Frenemy comes out October 29th. And this is the 3rd book in this series.
Beautiful.
So pretty.
I think that might be my favorite cover. I don't know. I think
so. I think mine too.
And her dress, she's in a pretty dress. Like, oh.
I think it might be mine too, actually.
See,
I mean, I love them all, but
I love that first cover just because you see, like, you feel the tension between the two of them as they're like squaring off on that table. Like, it's a clinch that's not quite a clinch.
And I love the arch, the Puerto Rican flag arch. It tells you like right away that that's Humboldt Park.
Yeah.
I remember that's what made me do it like a quadruple take. I was like, wait, expand.
I actually did. I did have somebody on Instagram one time, like go into this huge rant with me. Look at, he's mad again. About how that looked because it was like orange, you know, and they kind of color dredged and like ombre it. How it looked too much like the Cuban flag, and they just would not give up the fact of the Cuban flag.
Oh my God. Whatever.
Puerto Rican
Let them
flag.
die on the hill.
I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know my flag, but you know, cool. And then I was just like,
Cool.
You can still buy the book and read it.
I think I might have just said, don't read it then, and then we're blocked.
Jesus.
Blocked. Early and often.
The amount of times that I like say, geez, those people need a group chat, or what the fuck is wrong with people every day, usually on Threads.
Oh, the audacity of people.
Right? Quick Patreon update. Welcome to new member Louise. Thank you for supporting us and joining the Buzzing About Romance Book Hive. Celebrating a year in the Hive is Amy C. 2 years in the Hive is Sue. And 3 years in the Hive is Ophelia. Thank you for your continued support about Buzzing About Romance and making it such a great romance book loving community. Make sure you join us back here Wednesday for our discussion of The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava. I had to message her and ask her to send me like a voice memo of how to say her last name. Because I'm just that
book
person.
Is so damn good. I enjoyed it so much.
It's really great. So much tension.
It gave me a heart attack, but I was like, this is great. I love that this is happening.
You like to kind of torture yourself.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm alive.
You get one of those little things that the viejas have when they fall. Like, I fell and I can't get up.
Rifler.
I'm feeling too much as I read. I can't live.
My cold heart has emotions. I'm sorry. And then we're back next Sunday live with another episode, and we are going to chat all about the pregnancy romance books that everybody says they hate, but we all read. For a list of books we talked about this weekend, please visit our on the shelf show notes at buzzingaboutromance.com, and you can find a current list of books for our upcoming Wednesday episodes on our website. Please don't forget to follow us on social media for more updates and join our community of romance loving Enthusiasts, if you loved this episode, please leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Share it with your friends. Your support helps bring us more exciting content to you every week. Carla, thank you for answering your direct messages and not blocking me.
Thank you for inviting me.
And Angelina and Natalie, thank you so much for your time and hanging out and talking about your books with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we had so much fun.
Of course. Until next time, everybody, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.